Hi guys, so I've said before how Brexiteers are desperate to find some good news following Brexit. You know, we've seen the disaster at the ports, we've seen the disaster of how the British government have advised companies to move abroad in order to continue to operate. They're desperate for something, and Douglas Murray, who's a conservative and a Brexiteer, believes he's found a positive story that will promote Brexit. I'm sorry that this is coming from the Sun. I understand many people don't want to view anything from the Sun, and I fully understand that. But I think it's important to keep these people on their toes, to challenge them whenever they spew this type of propaganda.
Not everybody, by quite a long way, is going to feel as happy about this post-Brexit success story as some of us might feel ourselves.
Why is his face orange? Okay, sorry.
Well, it's only a month ago that we saw the EU, and particularly the French President Emmanuel Macron, try to punish Britain, really. The excuse, the reason given was the new strain of the COVID virus that was identified as being from the UK. But the timing was funny because it was only a few days before Britain was due to leave the EU with or without a trade deal.
Yeah, so you would imagine the slam dunk here. The French were angry that the UK was leaving the transition period. So this was a way of punishing the UK. Well, if that was the case, why were other countries around the world blocking flights from the UK during these the discoveries of this new variant? So if it was just, he's trying to paint it as, look, it's the EU, the French trying to punish the UK for Brexit. But if that was the case, once again, why did other countries that are not in the EU impose restrictions as well? And if it was the case of punishing the UK for Brexit, then why is it still the case that it's necessary for lorry drivers to travel from the UK into France? They still need a negative test for COVID. We're 1 month into a post-Brexit world. Why, if it was about punishing the UK before the end of the transition period, why are they still doing it?
Only a month later now, at the end of January, the situation looks extremely different. It's rather un-British in a way to point to any successes going on in our country.
It's un-British to point to successes. You see what he's trying to do here? You know, we're supposed to only look at the negative. Okay.
At the moment. But the vaccination of vulnerable members of the population has been an extraordinary success. We saw the numbers vaccinated in a single day last week go up to 400,000.
Now, look, if this is a success, then I will commend the UK government for doing that. Okay? But there is a problem here. Some people are not getting their second jab. Now, Boris Johnson's father received the first dose and the second dose within 3 weeks. Many people who received the first dose have yet to receive the second dose. Now, is that a success? You know, what is the point in giving people a dose if they are not getting the second one, the booster, which is required not by me, not by the EU, but by the pharmaceutical producers, the people who produce this vaccine? They say you should have the second jab after 3 weeks. Many people still haven't received the second jab. There's talk about having it after 12 weeks. Now, I don't know if that's okay. I don't know if it's a problem. But Douglas Murray is promoting this as a success.
In fact, in a few days last week, Britain vaccinated more people than have been vaccinated in France to date.
And that's well done. But once again, he's going to try and promote this as because of Brexit, because the UK is no longer a member of the EU. And we talked about this before. The EU has said this was never a requirement of leaving the EU. The UK was fully within its rights, even if it was a member, to say, look, we want to take this risk. And it was a risk. Maybe the risk is paying off. I think we'll have to wait and see if the risk is paying off. Look, and if this is a success for the UK, then kudos to the UK for doing that. They took a risk. We don't know the results of that risk yet. We need to wait and see, because if it's the case that the Boris Johnson's government have decided we're going to vaccinate a section of society and leave it at that, then that will be a failure. It will not be a success. Now, I'm not saying that's the case. I don't know. I think it's still too early to say it's a success or a failure. But it is concerning that, for example, Boris Johnson's father received 2 jabs, while there are many people who haven't received any jab, or there are people, a very worrying number of people, who have only received 1 and are still waiting for the second one. I've spoken to people on this channel, and they have told me that they have grandparents, they have elderly parents who have received the first one, and they're still waiting for the second one.
Because the interesting situation that has emerged is how slow the EU has been in the rollout of its vaccine program.
And I will criticize the EU for that. I'm not beyond criticizing the EU. I'm not a sycophant. I believe the EU has been slow. I think they should have moved faster. Perhaps they should have gone in the direction of the UK. If the UK went in this direction, well done to the UK. If this turns out to be a success, well done. Kudos completely. But what the problem is that Douglas is trying to say this is because of Brexit, because he's invested all of his political capital in Brexit. But this is nothing to do with Brexit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Brexiteers. Brexit is irrelevant here. The EU said, the chief medical people in the EU said, look, this is nothing to do with membership. Member states, if they believe, they can go ahead on their own. In the same way that member states were allowed to impose restrictions on the borders.
On current trends, a number of EU countries will not make their vaccine targets until March of 2024. And some...
Now, he's being a little bit disingenuous here. He's not saying what the UK target is. And I showed a video about this recently where if the UK continues on its current trend, it will be 2024 before everyone's vaccinated. If the UK vaccinates 2 million people a week, then it will reach its target by the end of the year. But that's not the current trend. That's not the current amount of vaccines that are being rolled out.
EU members, including Bulgaria, on current projections, won't be making the target until 2040. Of course, nobody wants to be looking like they're crowing, and this is a very early stage for all of us.
But
it appears that having the ability to be limber and agile and responding swiftly to events.
Once again, this is not, I'm sorry, but this is nothing to do with Brexit. The UK decided we're going to go in this way. If the UK was still a member, it could have done that. Now, whether it would have done it or not, I don't know. We don't have a parallel universe to test that theory. But it was never a requirement of EU membership. So this entire video is missing a very vital piece of information. This was not a requirement of EU membership.
It gives Britain a distinct advantage over EU member states who are having to go at the pace of the slowest members and whose fastest members haven't caught up yet with the UK. Well, all of this is, of course, a blow to some of the more bitter Remainers who remain in.
And this is an attack on these phantom people. What the Brexiteers try to do is they try to create a boogeyman. So look, there are these Remainers who just want Britain to fail. They're delighted when Britain fails. Who are these people? Please point them out to me. I'd like to challenge these people because I've never met any of them. You know, I've never met people. People will call me anti-British and anti-UK because they don't understand me. They paint a picture of me as being anti-UK. No, I'm anti-Brexit. I'm anti-Boris Johnson. I'm anti-Tory. And I'll hold up my hands when it comes to that. I want the UK to succeed. I said at the beginning of this video, and I've said on numerous occasions, and when Boris Johnson delivered Brexit, got Brexit done last year, I said on this channel, I said, I hope he wins. I hope he succeeds. I hope he can create a better UK post-Brexit. I'm not anti-British. I'm not anti-UK. I hate that I have to say that, but I seem to have to say it for some people.
In the UK, there was at the very start of the COVID era, the year we've just been through, there were a number of prominent Remainers who were insisting that Britain out of the EU would be at a great disadvantage in research capabilities and indeed rollout of any vaccine.
Now, but I don't think it was a case of the UK would be out for the vaccine. We've seen the results of not being a member of the EU when it came to PPE, when it came to ventilators. There were options for the UK government to purchase PPE along with the EU, and they decided not to. Now, it wasn't because of membership rank, it was because of Brexit and the mentality of Brexit. But I'm pretty sure that Douglas would support that. You know, we don't want to be part of the EU procurement scheme because that undermines Brexit some way. He would prefer people... No, I'm not going to go down that road because I'll allow him to say what he feels.
It's turned out to be flat out wrong, but we haven't seen very much apology for that from the Remainers.
Apology for what? Apology for saying that not being part of the European Union would have helped or would have hindered? What he's doing is he's saying, look, we have this vaccine. There are also some of the vaccine is produced in the UK, some of it is produced in Belgium, but he's saying that because we're no longer a member, we wouldn't, you know, if we had been a member, we wouldn't have been able to do these things. He completely ignores the knowledge that has been built up in the UK while it was a member of the EU. I'm not grasping at straws here. This is a reality. Okay, the UK until a year ago was a member of the EU, and it built up knowledge and resources and expertise because it was a member. These Brexiteers are trying to say we're starting from year zero.
There is clearly a certain amount of bad blood, not just from Remainers in the UK, but clearly from parts of the EU. We have seen the extraordinary sight of the president of the EU Commission just this week saying that companies in Europe must give early warnings if they are planning to export vaccines to the UK. This is because...
Here is the crux of his problem. He thinks everything is about the UK. They said if you're exporting to countries outside the EU, it's not about the UK. I'm sorry, Douglas. I know you believe in British exceptionalism, but this is not about you. I'm sorry. The EU said it's about exporting vaccines outside the EU. The EU wants to protect itself. It has a limited number of vaccines. It would prefer to keep those vaccines in the EU. There's a problem at the moment with the production of the vaccines. The companies are not able to produce them fast enough. So there's a limited supply. The EU said, we don't want... Now, we can argue whether that's moral or not, whether it's ethical or not, but they have said we don't want them exported outside the EU. Now, of course, he says, to the UK... They're trying to punish the UK. No, it's about protecting themselves. You do understand, Douglas, that there are other countries outside the EU. Okay, it's not just Britain.
of a fear that the UK is going to have pulled so far ahead of EU countries in the legitimate acquisition of vaccines. And then we've seen a really quite extraordinary thing, you can't help thinking it's some kind of dirty tricks campaign. The German media this week started claiming completely falsely that the Oxford vaccine only has an 8% efficacy rate among the over 65s. This is completely false. There is no evidence for it. But this claim by the German media was immediately picked up by other media across the EU, and particularly, it has to be said, by some legacy Remainer media in the UK, who often talk about fake news, but turn out to be pushing it around very happily.
This guy is doing a monologue for The Sun. And he's talking about media outlets pumping out fake news and propaganda. I don't know the story that he's talking about. If it's a false story, then it should be corrected. I assume he also believes it should be balanced on both sides. If the Express or the Sun are pumping out fake news, that should be corrected as well. You know, if when it comes to Brexit, it's okay if it's fake, but when it comes to things that are anti-UK or anti-Brexit, then it's a problem.
Happily themselves at the moment, as long as it serves their own political prejudices.
Yes, isn't it a terrible thing that people pump out propaganda because it serves their own political purposes?
Yes, so the German media made this outrageous claim,
The German media? You're talking about a media outlet. What he's trying to do here is he's trying to paint a picture of the German media. Like, if I said The Sun published an article that was false, I wouldn't say the British media published an article that was false. I would say The Sun did. What he's trying to do is he's trying to paint... He said one outlet, one newspaper, and now he's painting the entire German media as promoting this. You see what he's doing here? This is subtle. Sometimes people don't pick up on it. The idea that what I do is I criticize one outlet and then I extend that to the entire country. I could do the same with the UK, but I'm not dishonest. I could say, look, the entire UK media is pro-Brexit. But I don't do that because that would be dishonest.
Clearly is a sort of dangerous claim to make at this moment, not least because it could, if people believed it, undermine belief in the success of the vaccine.
Isn't it funny that Douglas Murray is now pro-vaccine? He said, look at this great success that we have achieved. And a few months ago, he was saying, you know, the government are going too far with these lockdowns. These lockdowns are not working. We shouldn't have these lockdowns. We're going too far with these lockdowns. You see what he's doing? He's moving the goalposts. A few months ago, he was anti-government. Now that it's something that he can use to promote Brexit, he's pro-government. He's a charlatan. He's two-faced. He's not consistent in his rhetoric. You can find videos of him complaining about the lockdowns. Oh, we're going too far. It's the government overreach. This government doesn't deserve to run the country. They're a disaster. All this type of rhetoric. And now he's saying, look at this success. The success of this British government because of Brexit. I'm not saying that you can't criticize the government and at the same time, at another occasion, support the government. But he is a type of person. He's the type of person who will use anything to promote his own ideology. This ideology of we don't care about poor people. You know, the lockdowns are affecting the rich. They're affecting the business class. They're losing money. We need to end it. The vaccines are working. This is a success for Brexit. Then I'm going to support that. I'm going to promote that. He's a charlatan, and I think it's important that he's called out. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. And apologies again for using the sun. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?